every business is unique, so I don't know how you're going to earn your income, but how you retain your income is what's important. Well, it's my great pleasure today. I have Chris Scheele, a good friend of mine, and I am excited for how this conversation is going to go, Chris. Tell us a little bit about who Chris is. Oh, good question. Well, I am a family man. As I just heard, we were just talking about our families, but I have a couple of young kids and a wonderful wife, and I am an entrepreneur. When I say newly entrepreneurial, I haven't always been had a focus on being an entrepreneur, but it's kind of the way my life and career has gone. But other than that, I'm just a avid outdoorsman, sports enthusiast, and yeah.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about the past, because you did mention sports there. So I know, just from what I know about you, the conversations we've had, sports have been a very integral part in shaping who you are today, even as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How has that journey shaped you?
Yeah, totally. I always say that it's something that's for me, that the habits, the experience of being a competitive athlete has definitely come with me. Even though I'm far removed from sport now, I still have a lot of those habits and techniques and things that I've learned, the experiences that I've gained. So for the most part, and I should say I don't think that's limited to sport. I think that our past experiences, whether that is something like a competitive sport, that you have to be very disciplined and maybe regimented. You have an element of goal setting, you have an element of accomplishment, and maybe team and camaraderie. That can be found outside of sport as well. That could be in your family and friend group, depending on how or where you grow up. So it's not just sport, but for me it was.
And so how do you tie passion with making money?
Right. Well, that's a good question. I think my answer is complex. I'll start with the first part. The first part of my career, I did not tie passion to making money. I just went and tried to make money because I wanted to provide for my family. I wanted, want a reasonable life and be able to enjoy it. And for me, it was just a means to an end. That was my work. And yeah, I did find fulfillment in it at times, but I lost that quickly. So I was about 9 years into my career in project management and in the construction field, and realized it was just not for me. And that's kind of the start of my entrepreneurial journey, was actually following my passion. So this idea, kind of welled up in me, and I accepted this idea that I could do this thing I had thought about for a while. Actually, I never really entertained the thought of I could do this for a living. I could follow something I'm more passionate about. I just thought, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But eventually it came to the point where it was no, something does need to change, and I want to do what I'm passionate about. And that's where my entrepreneurial journey started. And so for a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, I would say they're probably in a similar position. They are so passionate about something, this what I would say is your why, or what Simon Sinek says is your why, that reason that you're doing it. When we are so deeply ingrained with that, it's the passion for being an entrepreneur just comes, and you just launch in. And that's kind of what happened to me, is I realized this is the time, and I just went for it. And we can go more into that. I wouldn't recommend the path that I took for everyone, because what that looked like, when I say I recognized the passion and I literally launched into it, I had left my secure, stable job within 3 months of deciding. So yes, I had some savings set aside. I had somewhat of a plan, but I had no business plan. I had no prospects of how to grow my business, and how to I had no budget for my business. I had no idea how much money I was going to earn. I just knew I needed to go. And so I took that leap of faith, as I call it. And I don't recommend that. For some, maybe that is your story. Maybe that is what you need, is just to go and launch in, and that your passion may carry you through. But looking back on it now, for me, what I learned through that process and has helped me, as a financial planner and coach, it's helped me to work with my clients, but it's also helped me in my own business, that experience of just diving in and having to figure it out on the fly.
One thing that I've always admired about Chris is his clarity when it comes to making a move. Well, at least from where I stand, I admire that about you. And how do you achieve that clarity? Because there's so many doubts, so many winds blowing you to and fro. But how do you achieve your clarity?
It's a great question. There is some contemplation. There is some, a period of reflection of, is this the right path for me? But it's very short, actually, for me. I think it comes down to just my nature, my personality. I'm very optimistic naturally. So when I have a new idea or opportunity, after I've taken the time to reflect and kind of ruminate on it a little bit, I often will decide. And maybe I was a bit more rash or quick to go all in past decisions, but now I think one thing I've recognized lately is that even though I accept that as the new direction, I don't necessarily jump right in. So there's a step. There's always that next step. And it's like, we don't need to know the whole path. We don't need to know every step. It's like, what's the next step? And just take that step. That grand idea or vision or dream that you have in your business, it might not end up the way you first thought it was. It's just taking that first step and not getting caught up in the grand dream of it. That's been how I make those decisions quickly, is just, this is the direction. I'm confident. I'm optimistic. It'll work. What's my next step?
And how important is a financial plan in that? Because I'm thinking, yes, you've got the personal side of things. You've got business as well. How important is the planning piece in that financially?
Yeah. So I think it's very important. Like, part of the reason that I believe I can make these decisions quickly is because I know what my finances, what's happening in them, both business and personal. So I know that if I'm going to take a risk or make a decision, that I know potentially what the impact could be. What is the outlay? What is the investment for this? That's one thing I've recognized right away with being an entrepreneur. Every idea, every suggestion, every opportunity comes with a cost. And there's different types of costs. There's the opportunity, the time, but also the financial cost. And so by understanding the finances and the financial cost of these opportunities, I think that helps me to make those decisions quicker. So bit of a trail there, but I'll go back to the question, which was, how important is the plan? It's absolutely so important. And the first step, even though we are entrepreneurs, we're speaking to entrepreneurs here, your personal finances matter and your business finances matter. And in my experience, the best way to manage them is separately. So, without getting into business structure and, what type of business you run, let's just say, if you understand where your money is going personally, that's the first step. So prospective entrepreneurs, you have a dream, you have an idea, you have this thing that you're considering doing. Before you even take that step, it's important to be clear on your personal finances. What is your current financial position? Do you have money available monthly? Do you have monthly cash flow? Basically, are you in the positive or are you in the negative? Do you have debt that you're trying to pay off? Do you have something you're saving for personally? Maybe that's a down payment or a next house or vehicle or et cetera, right? It's going to be different for everyone. But the important part of this is understanding where your money is going personally. Until you know that, it's very hard to understand your business finances. And what I've found is that most entrepreneurs, they just get so interconnected. What I often am finding myself encouraging or suggesting to entrepreneurs is to separate their accounts. So that's a very practical step. If you have a business, have a separate bank account. And now you don't need certainly a business account in a lot of cases, especially as a sole proprietor. You can just have a personal bank account, but separate it. Call that your business bank account. Label it on your online banking. Call that for me, it's my Forerunner operating account. This is where my business income and expenses come out of. out of this account. So I see that completely separate from my personal finances. And then I also see when I pay myself from that business account to my personal. Very clear. I've got it down to, it's like you're getting a paycheck from your employer at that point, especially if you can get some consistent income, which takes time, believe me. But that is one thing I would suggest for everybody. The first step of your financial plan, your business plan, is to understand your current financial position and be aware of the ins and outs of both your personal and your potential or your current business.
Where did the name Forerunner come from?
So there's a few kind of meanings or reasons in my heart for it. The first is, in my sport experience, I was in alpine skiing, and the Forerunner is the athlete that tests the track before the race actually starts to make sure it's safe and fair for all the athletes. So they kind of pave the way and make sure it's safe. My wife actually drives a Toyota Forerunner, which we love as a, Toyota reliable, rugged vehicle for our outdoor enthusiast lifestyle. And then just the Forerunner, like biblical references to like the ones that go ahead and kind of test the way as well.
Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, with one of the things I've in mind, of course, is the family aspect of things. You are whole in the business walk, in the personal walk, in the family walk as well. Is your family aware of your every business move? How do you communicate your decisions, and how do you bring them to the table?
Yeah, that has been a challenge, and also an adjustment. Like it's kind of ever adjusting. And my kids are still young, so obviously they're not really involved in the conversations at this point. But with my wife, when I first started, I wanted her to be involved. I wanted her input. And I think maybe in my case, it's because my vision, my dream, my business was maybe in this immature stage where I didn't have the answers. And as an outward processor, I needed her input to make the decisions and do all the stuff. So at the beginning, there was a lot of like, hey, Michelle, this is what I want to do. Hey, can we do this? I want to do this. And what we realized is that wasn't working for our relationship and our family. So now there's a lot less. There's a certain amount that everybody has, like a comfort level of like, I would spend X amount before I told my partner. I treat that the same way for my business. If I spend more than $500, like, I better talk to Michelle about it first. So same with my business.
Awesome. In my home growing up, there were certain things that we didn't talk about. And finances is one of those things. And I know with the way you are today, it's because of the foundation. At least an integral part of that is the foundation that was set at your dinner table growing up, where talking about finances was not taboo.
Yep.
How do you incorporate that now? Or maybe what piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to change the narrative of what's happening in their home and make this topic not as taboo as it has been in their past?
Yeah, it is very common. Unfortunately, in my opinion, like that it is considered taboo. Like with many things, like the way we learn from it is talking about it, right? And maybe that's harder to do when you're not in a positive position, or you don't personally feel that way. But I really would encourage just start with something. Like it can be the smallest thing. If we're talking about a home with a family, husband and wife, or that, maybe they don't have the most transparent relationship with their financial lives. Like obviously they love each other, they're married, but maybe finances is something they've never really had those conversations about. Bring it up to your partner and say, like, I think we should change this, or are you willing to talk about it at least? And start to have some little conversations about it until hopefully it gets to the point where it is comfortable to talk about all of it. You talk about the spending, you talk about the savings, you talk about the debt, talk about the investing, talk about growing the wealth. And, everyone loves to talk about generational wealth. I find it such a buzzword, almost to the point where it's a bit frustrating for me. But if you want to talk generational wealth, you need to talk money, pennies, dollars, hundreds of dollars, tens of dollars at the dinner table with your family. And it's not always about the negative part about it, but talk about it. What did you learn from that? Hey, you bought this today. How did that make you feel? Do you think you would do it again? Would you change anything? we're learning, we're teaching our kids buying experiences, or we have the opportunity to teach them through the experiences they have. And when we can reflect on that, talk about it openly, we have the opportunity to change our family's perspective and, the way they communicate about finances. That can lead to generational wealth.
Come up with a business in that financial space where you're helping people in financial need and you are charging them something. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I would love to help everyone, but I need to live. And being in that sphere, how do you navigate that? How do you come up with a price for your product when you're helping someone who potentially is in need and they're in financial strain? How does that work?
Yeah, it's an ever ongoing kind of battle, like almost an inner, not dilemma, but it's like there's a battle going on, right? Like I know I need to provide for my family. I need to get paid for the work I do. I know I can help my clients. I also know that, in some of the positions they're in, they can't even think about paying hundreds of dollars out of pocket for my help when they're in thousands of dollars of debt and have no money left over at the end of the day. Yeah, experience and flexibility, I think, has been the key for me in that sense. I've always been adjusting my pricing model, my structure, how I charge for what I do. I actually entered the industry in a traditional sense of like going to work as a broker for a small firm, and I quickly realized that a product-based like sales environment was just not for me. And now I know there's always an element of sales in any job, anything we do. I still do sales now, and it's still the least favorite thing I do. But really, I just couldn't get behind this, like, here's a product, financial product or an insurance product that you need to buy because it's going to help your family. And that's how I get paid, is off of that product. I just found like having commissions tied to the recommendations, I just didn't like that. It didn't sit right with me. You're paying, I charge a fee to my clients for the financial planning and coaching advice that I provide. And there's no product sales tied to that. So there's no incentive for me to make any recommendations that aren't in their absolute best interest. And that's where like the passion is there for me. So like when I first started, I was passionate about the financial industry, and obviously the upbringing, my parents talking about money openly, that all led me down this path. But it was when I went into the industry and realized like there's something wrong. There's something I don't like here. It doesn't align with my values. That's where the vision for my current business is. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to that. It's where they see something that doesn't add up in their mind, whatever it is. Like they can just feel it. They're like, this isn't right. I can fix this. I have a vision that solves that problem. And that goes back to the why, right? When you're clear on that, what it is that you see the gap is and why you want to solve that problem for your clients, that's where your business is going to be unstoppable.
Do you still talk about money with your parents now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And have the tables switched? Are you advising them as opposed to them advising you now?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. We did look at some of their pension stuff, and they're both retired now, so in a much different position. But yeah, we still talk about it. Yeah.
So how do you define success? You're working with a client. What is success for you? At what point do you celebrate?
I start to celebrate as soon as the client's relationship has been changed with money. Like, I'm thinking of this differently now, or like my mindset has changed on this. I can approach this differently now. That's what I consider a win.
I like that. Relationship with money.
Yeah.
What do you find is the biggest relationship breaker with money?
I think it's transparency. I think it's hiding behind like your whatever it is you're spending, your expenses, your income. Like, it's just kind of being removed from it. Once you have the transparency, you have the ability to change. If you don't know where your money is coming and going, you have no control. You can't change it. It's just like hoping. It's like trying to start a business without a plan. Somebody I know. Yeah. Without that transparency, you don't have a hope of making a change, making an adjustment. So I think that's probably the biggest one for couples, is when they start working together. We're stronger together. We have done this on our own maybe, and it's worked. It's gotten us this far, but maybe we would be stronger if we collectively work on this together.
For that business plan, which section of it would you say was the greatest, was revelatory for you, where you maybe market strategy or maybe how to take your product to the market, analyzing the need? Is there even a need for your product? Which part of your business plan would you say was pivotal to, or most eye-opening rather?
It was really the understanding my client, understanding who they are, what they do, and how to communicate with them. So as a, not an entrepreneur in my former career, I didn't really have to deal with customers or clients. I was on a big project. We had big clients where I didn't have to impress them or I had a job and I executed the job. The client was happy. Great. I didn't understand them on a deep level. The more you can understand your clients and what they really want, it's not like what you do, it's what you do for them. So it's like, yeah, I could talk about financial planning all day. It doesn't mean anything. Nobody even knows. First of all, nobody knows the difference between a financial advisor, a financial planner, financial coach, whatever. There's a million names. Your potential clients don't get excited about what you do. It's about why you do it. When I can say, when I leave a meeting with a client and they send me a message a few minutes later saying wow, I have this sense of relief all of a sudden. I feel like I'm going to be okay. And you just you improved my life because you helped me to understand my money.
What is the difference between a financial planner and a financial coach?
Yeah, I kind of use either term. So financial coach in my perspective is someone that coaches you, comes alongside you. Like I always use the sport reference, right? The coach isn't the one playing the game, but they have the experience. They know where the pieces need to be. They're there to encourage, to motivate, and hold you accountable. So that's what a financial coach does in my mind. They're there to encourage, hold you accountable, motivate, and they have the expertise in the financial world. So point you on the right track. Whereas the financial planner is doing a part of that, but it's also more long-term strategy. So we talk about more long-term retirement planning. We get into investment allocations and tax strategy, your cash flow planning, which cash flow planning ends up being a lot of coaching as well, because that's where we're talking budgeting and the ins and outs of all your money, and estate planning. So the financial planning is a much, and just to back up, is a much more regulated term. Not everybody can just call themselves a financial planner, but pretty much anybody can call themselves a financial coach.
Now, if I have a partner or partners in my business, how do you navigate that financial, or what would you recommend they do to be financially sound as a unit?
Clear communication is definitely going to be the first recommendation, whether it's your life partner, your spouse, or it's a partner, like a business partner, friend, family member, whatever. Clear communication is absolutely the first thing with your finances. You're not going to agree on every business decision, and therefore you're not going to agree on every financial decision, because every business decision is going to have a financial impact to it. Understand that you're going to have disagreements, but clearly communicate. If you can have some, parameters similar to what I shared earlier, like if I spend over X amount, I need to talk to my wife, my business partner, about it, right? Have those same things with your business partner. Also having a budget is very helpful. What are we planning for upcoming spending? Both of you, or as many partners as there are, should understand that, cash flow needs and what's our upcoming income. What do we have coming in? So there's a lot of potential for things to go wrong with business partners.
Always very important to have that, unanimous shareholder agreement, and everything is all laid down on paper. I'm curious to know, what does Chris do when he's having a bad day?
What do I do when I'm having a bad day? If I can, I escape my business and do something I love. I go outside, I go for a run, I shoot my bow, I go for a bike ride, hang out with my kids. I try to just turn it off.
What is the one thing that you remember from your business journey that was a loss that made you who you are today?
When I first started, I thought I need a website right away. I'm 2 months into my business. I don't have any clients, but I need a website. So I paid somebody to get a website, and I had no idea what I would need to do. I thought they're just going to build it for me. It's no, I need to write the copy. I need to write the stuff for the website. Looking back at that now, like I just got ahead of myself. Like the excitement to start my business and grow my business was there, but the structure was not there yet. So I think that was my biggest loss or mistake, was just not taking that next step. I probably jumped a flight of stairs and said, I'll just do this.
Oh, and sink or swim is what it was.
Yeah.
Is that the same website you still have today?
No,
or did you...
no. So yeah, great question. I should have elaborated on that more, but that has taught me. I've actually, going through that process and having someone build it for me made me realize that I want to build it myself. So I have, since then, I think I'm on my third iteration of my website, like always adjusting. Usually it's minor tweaks, but yeah, I realized that I want to build it myself. And for a lot of people that are passionate about their why, about their business, and can communicate it clearly, like that could be an option. Do it yourself, because you know exactly what you want to say.
So at the time we're shooting this video, I know there's things in the market, things that are shifting. Interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
What would you say you've seen as one of the winning strategies today where someone can save a couple of dollars with their structure?
Business or personal or both?
Let's go both.
Okay. Yeah, really, when I think personal finances and how do you save some money, really there are no tricks. It's creating that habit. It's a process. It's something that you work into your normal rhythm of life. So if you've never been able to save money, start small. Ideally, you don't have any debt. Make it consistent, and then grow it and grow the habit. So that's why I would say personally, and it's very similar business-wise. Every business is unique, so I don't know how you're going to earn your income, but how you retain your income is what's important. And it's the same personally, right? Like whether you're employed or self-employed, what you do with what you earn is the important part. So we all have limited, amount that we earn. I do. Ideally, we all earned a lot more. That'd be great. But it's what you do now with little that is going to translate down the road to when you have lots, and creating that habit of saving more. So pay yourself first to the tune of 10% to start with. Every time you get paid, set aside 10% in a separate bank account as your savings. It's very interesting. One of the things I've found almost across all clients and people I've talked to is we have this ability to live on what we have. So if we have a lot, like we'll spend it all. If we have a little, we'll still get by, we'll spend it all. By paying yourself first and setting it aside, for some this even means opening a separate bank account at a separate bank where you don't have it on your phone or something like that, and you make that automated transfer every 2 weeks or every month, set that aside, pay yourself first 10%.
Chris, tell me, what types of people have you had to surround yourself with? What is the impact mentorship has had in your life?
Yeah, that has it's been more apparent in my journey as an entrepreneur. As an employee, you kind of don't get to pick who you surround yourself with. Your coworkers are your coworkers, but as an entrepreneur in a solo business, I've really found I've needed mentors and people in my life to have discussions with, especially as I mentioned, an outward processor. Like I need to talk it out to really discern, like, is this a good decision or is it the direction I should move? So I found entrepreneurs, luckily, I got connected to a co-working space that had a bunch of entrepreneurs in it and some great people that were willing to have conversations with. Not all mentors or, co-workers, as I say, like could have the capacity to have that like narrowed specific help or advice for you. So sometimes you need that specific help or advice, and sometimes you might need to pay for that. Because getting advice, like I always say in my experience, like on the financial industry, don't take investment advice from your brother-in-law. Like, just don't. Like, that's not what, if he doesn't do it for a living, go get the advice from the professional. However, the mentorship and friendship of other entrepreneurs like yourself, Thabani, has been so impactful in my journey. Just having somebody that I know I can call, like they can relate to the journey. They can relate to, what I'm going through. Maybe it's not even to like, sometimes it is to ask questions and like, what's your thoughts on this? but sometimes it's just to connect and to have a friend. So the journey can be lonely. Definitely find some people to surround yourself with that can journey with you.
Thank you, Chris. Likewise. I mean, iron sharpens iron. So
Yeah.
you've been that person for me as well.
Appreciate that.
This interview could go on forever.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know how can someone contact you if someone, really wants to get in touch with you and, and get you to help them with their financial planning. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me at forerunnerfinancial.ca. There's a little button that says Start Plan. You can hit that and you'll be connected to my calendar, and we can book a 30-minute complimentary discovery call and start the process.
Well, that's Chris Scheele for you. And so appreciate the time, Chris, that you've come in and spent with us. And I know you watching there will benefit quite greatly from what Chris has shared. So take this information, use it to your advantage, and get in touch with Chris, get in touch with myself, and we'll take you to the next level.
Good questions.